The cold November wind swirled golden leaves across our driveway as I leaned out the front door, checking for the delivery truck. The turkey had just gone in the oven, and the kitchen already smelled like rosemary, garlic, and warmth. This year, Thanksgiving was going to be different. My husband, Matt, had invited his older brother, Tyler, to join us after almost a decade of silence between them. I barely remembered Tyler, honestly. I'd only met him once before, 10 years ago, at our wedding. He and Matt had a falling out that no one really talked about. Whenever I asked, Matt would change the subject. We were just different, he'd say, or it's in the past. But this year, out of nowhere, Matt had mentioned he wanted to reconnect. He messaged me last month. Matt had told me, rubbing the back of his neck the way he always did when he was nervous. He said he's been thinking about family a lot. Said he might want to come down for Thanksgiving. I told him he'd be welcome here. I blinked at him, surprised. Are you okay with that? He nodded. I think I am. It's been too long. So, that's how we found ourselves expecting a guest that, to me, was more of a stranger than family. I set the table with extra care that morning, smoothing the linen runner and rearranging the place cards even though there were only 5 of us this year. Matt, me, our 2 kids Emma and Noah, and Tyler. When the doorbell rang around noon, Emma and Noah came racing down the stairs. Is that him? Emma asked, clutching her stuffed unicorn. She was 8 and had 100 questions about this mystery uncle. I opened the door to find a man who looked enough like Matt that there was no mistaking the relation. Tyler stood with a small duffel bag slung over his shoulder and a pie box in his hands. His hair was shorter than Matt's, with a touch more gray at the temples, and his eyes held a quiet kind of weight. But when he smiled, it was genuine.
Hey, he said.
I hope I'm not too early. Matt appeared behind me, and for a moment, the air felt charged with something I couldn't quite place. They looked at each other for a long moment before Matt stepped forward and wrapped his brother in a hug. Nope, Matt said, pulling back. You're just in time. The ice was broken in that hug. Tyler stepped in, greeted the kids, who were a little shy but fascinated, and handed me the pie box. Pumpkin, he said. Store-bought, but from a decent place. I tried to make one, and let's just say it didn't survive. We laughed, and I led him to the guest room to get settled. He was quiet, polite, and seemed unsure of his place at first. I could sense his hesitation as he looked around at the family photos on the wall, particularly one of Matt and the kids at the beach from last summer. Over the next hour, the house filled with the buzz of the holiday, football on the TV, Emma and Noah dragging Tyler into a game of Uno, and Matt checking the turkey like it was a high-stakes science experiment. Tyler started to open up in bits and pieces. He told stories about when he and Matt were kids, racing bikes down gravel hills and sneaking cookies from their grandmother's kitchen. I haven't thought about those days in a long time, he said, watching Matt slice potatoes. Feels like a different life. Matt glanced at him, his face unreadable. It was. After dinner, when the dishes were finally stacked and the pie had been served, we all sat around the fireplace with Coco. The kids eventually passed out in a tangle of blankets and stuffed animals on the couch. I offered to clean up the last of the dishes, but Tyler insisted on helping. We stood side by side in the kitchen, the hum of conversation replaced by the clink of plates and the swish of water. He was quiet for a moment before he said, "Thanks for letting me come." I smiled. Of course. I know it's been a long time, but Matt wanted this. He looked down at the dish in his hand.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't sure if he really meant it when he said I was welcome. He did, I said softly. He just doesn't always know how to show it. Tyler nodded, and there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Regret, maybe, or sadness. That night, after the kids were tucked in, Matt and Tyler sat outside on the porch. I didn't eavesdrop, but their voices floated in through the slightly open window. I heard laughter, then silence, and then something that sounded like an apology. The next morning, Matt looked different. Not dramatically, but lighter somehow. Tyler was already up, making pancakes while Emma peppered him with questions about where he lived, whether he had pets, and why he hadn't visited before. I was dumb, Tyler said simply. Sometimes grown-ups forget what matters. Emma seemed satisfied with that answer. Over the next few days, Tyler stayed longer than expected. We played board games, watched old Christmas movies, and walked the kids to the park. It felt right, natural, like a piece of something that had been missing had finally slid back into place. One afternoon, Matt told me what had happened between them all those years ago. It wasn't a big betrayal or a dramatic falling out, just a series of small misunderstandings that built up over time. Disagreements about their father's will, resentment about choices made, pride that wouldn't bend. We were both stubborn, he admitted, and I didn't want to be the one to give in. But you did, I said. He nodded.
Yeah.
I didn't want my kids growing up not knowing their uncle because of something that, in the end, doesn't matter. On Sunday morning, Tyler packed his bag. The kids clung to him, making him promise to visit again soon. As he stood at the door, Matt hugged him tightly. Don't be a stranger, Matt said. We've lost enough time. Tyler nodded. Next time you come see me, bring the whole gang. I'll make pancakes. We waved him off as he pulled out of the driveway, and the house felt quieter. But not empty. That Thanksgiving had started out feeling like a reunion with a stranger, but by the time it ended, Tyler wasn't a stranger anymore. He was family. Again. And for the first time in years, it really felt like Thanksgiving was whole.